Today, I will share one of my work that was trying to discover, the optimal lens of digital reading experience and like why I would choose to share this. I will talk more. But before I dive into that study, I will just like lightly introduce myself. And you guys all know my name is Tiantian. Got my PhD in cognitive science and education, a master in learning analytics from Columbia University. And while I was studying, I served at New York Times as a user experience researcher. Then I joined Pearson as a senior learning design researcher. And now I'm working at Meta as a senior UX researcher. And based on my education professional background, you can clearly tell that my passion is at ad tech and user experience. And I do believe that usability or like in education area, you can understand that learning experience can significantly impact learning outcome. And this is also one motivation of the research that I'm going to present later today. And also I want to share that even though like I'm working at tech companies, I devote my leisure time to promote learning and education and partner with other Thailands. I help to establish the Young Leader program under the Forum for World Education. And the picture was actually took in 2019 in our first big meeting in Paris that was co-hosted with OECD, and our another in-person meeting gonna be hosted this year, I believe like in New York. If anyone interested in this forum or this program, feel free to reach out. Cool. Now here the part of you guys are most interested, I guess, is the study that I was done actually when I still work at Pearson. And the major purpose of this study is to find the best page length of our digital reading experience. Why I have come up with this idea and why I decided to devote my time on it. I would say like two big reasons. First is like when I work at Pearson, Pearson we always work with the most reputable content experts to create digital textbooks. And one of our biggest product is the digital reading experience. And some of the format of like standalone e-text experience, but some is like integrated in the online courseware products. And actually in 2019, the company announced that all of its like 1,500 US titles will become digital first. However, I surprisingly found that we don't have a design guidance in terms of the page length, and that's why if you had like read used like Pearson's like digital reading materials, you may realize some of them like the length varied really widely, and also I found that actually it's not only for Pearson. It's just like no anywhere has this type of guidance, and the entire world is promoting digital learning. So to fill that gap, improve the digital reading experience, here we have very clear research objective to find the optimal lens for a page in a digital reading experience. And since reading experience is an education experience, so optimal here actually had two folds. One is to generate good learning outcome, and then the second is the learning experience perception. Talking about the methods, actually this study was composed of, it's definitely a mixed method study, and this study was composed of 4 sections. And the first section, if you cannot read the small words, don't worry, I'll provide more details later. But just like give you guys an overview here. So basically the first section was literature and product review. And the purpose of this section was to quickly find candidates of a good design solution. And once I confirmed the 2 parallel designs, I established 2 high fidelity prototypes for each design, and these 2 prototypes were used in the testing sections. And then the next 2 sections were both testing sessions. The third section was unmoderated testing with follow-up assessment. And the purpose of this section is to compare with design, which design could generate better learning outcome and learning experience. And then the fourth section is an eye tracking study. And the purpose of this section is to test users' attention allocation and engagement, and which can be used to triangulate the result from the assessment, like through survey. And here are more details about each sections. Let's see. The first section, the literature and product review. So after reviewing other research and some current products, I decided to go with 2 potential good designs. The long version, which split content at section level, versus a short version, which is will split content at subsection level and interactives. But either of them was neither of them was extreme long nor extreme short, but both make sense to our stakeholders. And there's the second section, the prototype creation. So I use a prototype tool to create 2 versions of digital reading environments for our testing, and they are fully interactive and identical except the page length, and the content was exactly the same. And the third section, the testing session. So the first one is unmoderated testing plus assessment. Assessment was actually conducted through Quark's platform. And then the study was a between group comparison, and one participant would only see one design. And there are 68 participants signed up and were randomly assigned to each condition. And all participants were required to finish a reading task using the assigned learning environment. And then the survey question, survey was used to do the assessment. And the survey question was composed of 2 parts. The first is the learning outcome assessment, which is composed of 6 formative assessment questions related to the learning content. And the second part is the perception questions, which is going to be self-reported responses. And for the perception part, we tested 3 dimensions. The first is engagement. For example, how engaging do you feel the reading experience was? And the second is learning confidence, like how well do you think you learned the content? And the third one is appropriateness of page lengths. Like, did you think the length of the page was too long, too short, or just right? And the last testing section is eye tracking. So Toby eye tracking system was used to detect the clack eye gaze data during the learning task, and eye motion attention tool software was used to aggregate the participants' eye movement. And it's also between group comparison. It's an in-lab study, 16 participants signed up and randomly assigned to each condition. And here is the findings. Usually I would ask people to guess which one is better, since we'll save all the questions to the end. So I'll just release the findings here. Actually, we learned the short version works much better. And here is the first evidence. The results show that actually students in the short page group express significantly higher engagement and stronger confidence in their learning. And according to the cognitive science theory, engagement and confidence plays an important role in students' learning performance. But even though students' score in the quiz in the short page group was not significantly different from the long page group, but I won't make a conclusion at that moment that the shorter pages won't promote learning outcome, because the reading experience that was included in the studies was pretty short. So it's reasonable to believe or hypothesize that the positive effect for engagement and confidence is likely to compound and increase over the duration of actual assigned student ratings, in reality. And also the higher engagement in the short page group were triangulated in the findings from the eye tracking data, which I'm going to talk more very soon. And let's see what we found from the eye tracking data. First of all, from these two sets of heat maps, we can clearly see shorter page created more consistent attention, as shown by more red and yellow in the heat maps through the entire reading experience. And a more consistent attention is likely the reason for the higher engagement reported above, and is also related to less reading fatigue. Moreover, it's easy to understand that consistent attention is more likely to translate to higher learning outcome over the duration of an authentic learning experience. In addition, in the eye tracking study, we found that students in the long page group completed the reading experience significantly faster than students in the short page group. Please remember that we use exactly same content. And then what does that mean? Well, at C, it just triangulates a higher engagement in the short page group. Like students in the short page group unconsciously just engaged deeper in the reading experience, which was just consistent with self-reported higher engagement in the unmoderated survey study. And this is where, as mentioned, that just triangulated the higher engagement through the eye tracking task. And well, in addition to the engagement and confidence, students told us that they prefer the shorter page in another way. So if you still remember that one of the questions was asked in the survey was about the appropriateness of page length. And if response was too long, then the code was 1. If the response was just right, the code was 0. If the response was too short, the code was -1. So on this chart, the closer the number is to 0, the more students think the length was just right. And the difference was statistically significant between two groups. So that means students thought the shorter page were more like the right length for them. And let's just put everything together and sum up. Like our solid conclusion and recommendation is shorter version, splitting content as subsection. It's much better because first it promotes better engagement, like survey studies showed higher self-reported engagement. Eye tracking tasks also showed more consistent attention throughout the experience and a longer time on task. It also promotes stronger learning confidence, and survey studies showed higher self-reported confidence in learning. Last but not least is a more preferred lens. Survey study showed more self-reported just right lens. And then about the next step, we actually, at least me and my team, all agree that the question that this research was trying to answer is obviously important. But this research has some limitations due to time constraints and other reasons. So a follow-up study with larger sample size, especially for the eye tracking sessions, and a more rigorous research design is very necessary. So we worked together and to apply some fund, and luckily got grant from AT Still University Strategy Research Fund to support a series of follow-up studies. In addition, so in this round, in addition to enlarged sample size, this time we added self-regulation as another dimension to understand how the length of digital page affect the entire reading experience. And we also changed the procedure, like collect biometric data and learning performance and perception data all together from the same group of participants. Also, to generalize the result, we also choose a new subject for the reading content, the anatomy. Another reason